How many people?
For me too, I also want eggs.
Yeah, so for you, Dad, and we can make for you, Dad, and Breeze.
I definitely want eggs. I'm starving actually.
Lloyd doesn't eat accross.
Oh,
Were you eating popcorn?
Hello, pig.
Hello, my fat piggy pigs. Come.
Hello, Roo.
Ah!
Hi.
Are you filming me doing the washing?
But it doesn't wipe. That's the problem with the sea. It doesn't wipe unless it's wet.
Since right from the beginning, I knew we were doing something different.
Put so much food around.
What is above you?
The world.
I knew that we were a part of something that most people hadn't experienced.
What does it taste like?
Like rain.
Like rain.
Should I get the tweezers?
Tweezers. He calls them the tweezers.
The way we saw life was different. It's something that is completely natural to us. Something that grounds us. And it's something we'll carry with us for the rest of our lives. There is a freedom in us. And people often wonder or ask, why? There's us 3 kids, and then mom and dad. 2 of our grandparents live in the granny flat next to us. We live in a small town at the bottom of South Africa, which is at the bottom of Africa. I'm the oldest, Rebecca Breeze. I like to think I'm funny. I got my BA about a year ago, and I do film for a living now. Although I'm not the best narrator. Sorry about that. Joey, the youngest, has an absolute heart of gold. He's always been the sweetest one out of all of us.
I don't hate my sisters, and I actually like being with them.
Yeah, why?
He's forever building stuff, taking stuff apart.
I love taking apart the motorbike's engine, seeing how all the gears work, seeing how the gearbox works, the pistons, the cranks, and all of that.
And then Ruth is some kind of genius. She knows like 4 languages, plays the piano without any music. She's a theatrical mastermind.
Eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. Oh, Romeo, just thy name!
I read in my study with my cats and my tea probably most of the day. I make the most delicious cup of coffee in the whole world, and I vacate into my study with my cat, and I put my music on, and I pick my book up,
Supernumerary.
and I read it.
Superfistate.
I think because I read so much, I'm primarily this ageless, eternal blob.
Because it's all these past minds.
Yes.
You're being comprised of past minds.
And then my perspective is not the perspective of a 16-year-old 21st century South African girl. It's the perspective of all the universal blobs that have lived in the world from hundreds of years ago.
Oh my god.
That's my primary existence. This is my secondary existence.
Hello.
Then there's Mom, or Rushka, which means rose, which I just think suits her so well.
See? This is my baby.
I think she's the most beautiful mother in the world. She's wild and she's calm all at once. If there's one thing I remember about her, she's always dancing. She tries to dance with me, but Dad is quite serious. His name is Justin, which means justice.
No.
He hates the camera, so it's really difficult to catch him on it. And he's actually very funny, but only to those who know him. Aside from our whack sense of humor and our dramaticism, there's one thing that we all have in common. We are the Johnsons, and we're a home-educating family.
Bye, everybody!
On the grass.
No. Paving.
Yeah, lift that up. There you go. Hi! How are you?
Joe, how are you, bud? Good to see you, man.
What usually happens is they've all got their own schedules and their own things that they're busy doing, and I facilitate. I make sure I get them to where they need to go, make sure they have the resources that they need, also networking and finding people that can be teachers for them or that they can shadow, or courses that they're doing online, because there is a whole lot to learn from.
No, the tiny one.
Oh, no, he's in the cave.
Oh.
Joe, how's it?
Huh?
How are you keeping? He's grown up, eh? Oh, serious.
With Joey, he loves to work as an apprentice for people and shadow under them, and that's how he learns the most. So whenever I find somebody who's doing something interesting, and people are so kind, you know, they're willing to take him under their wing, and he goes and he works with them for a while, and he's learned so much that way.
But now we're going to get to that line. So slowly, slowly. Just keep looking at the cup that you have.
I learn better by actually physically doing the things the books teach. I struggle with the books. I hate sitting.
Woo, we got honey.
Well, this one's full.
Ew. So greasy.
I prefer actually working with my hands.
I don't think anyone can actually ollie that hard. Do you see that ollie? I like it now. That was the best one I've ever done.
Yeah, I just need to fix that part. But it's going to be a pain to lock it so low down.
Ruth absolutely loves reading. She loves languages, anything to do with linguistics and literature and poetry. She is stimulated academically. So what I do is I just help her with enrolling with whatever courses she wants to do, make sure she has her books and support her in all of her wild and wonderful endeavors. Even though she knows that I'm around and I'm there for her, she is self-motivated and she continues on her own.
I do French classes with my grandpa.
Je manquerai de rien.
Place-les, deux place-les, des, right? Près des eaux paisibles.
When I clean, I listen to audiobooks or debates, although I speed the debates up very, very fast.
Because, for example, when there are differences in the Synoptic Gospels, our Muslim friends will say, see, that's an error in the Bible. But if you find them saying the exact same thing, that's an error in the Bible too, because it's plagiarism.
I do online courses, online Latin classes, the history of Beethoven's piano sonatas, Einstein's theory of relativity, Chinese religion and society, language and logic, theology, philosophy, church history, mathematical thinking. I started one on law, but it was so boring that I stopped it. A course on the theory of relativity, relativism. Although I don't think I finished it, it was quite relative as to how important it was.
I didn't get my matric. I went straight into varsity. I went into varsity when I was 17. I did 3 years there, came right out of varsity and went straight into what I wanted to do, which had to do with film and the film industry. I would really attribute that to the home education mindset of discovering who you are and discovering what you like and what you want out of life at an earlier stage. You have a couple of years in your life to just learn. That's all you gotta do. You don't have a job, you don't have to, take care of all these different financial things. My mom always used to tell me, she said, one day, Breeze, you can look back and you want to grow up quick now, but you're gonna look back and you're gonna say, sheesh, that must have been nice. You forget how, blessed those years are and how much you can learn and how much you can grow in those years, because that's your only job. To learn. That just sounds like bliss right now.
Why are we filming washing the dishes again?
Because it's a documentary and we need real life situations.
Oh, I see.
Life is tough, for real.
Life is tough.
Yeah.
We started a little business. A very nice way of learning how to run a business is to actually do one. So we started a coffee roastery where everyone is involved, and Ruth and I run the cafe once a week, and Tori roasts the coffee. So we sort of building on everybody's strengths and using them in a practical way, as opposed to just writing about them and reading about them. We're actually doing them. Responsibility. It's the most important thing, that all of the weight of your children's education and and everything they're going to be learning is on you. My husband works really hard so that I can be at home with them to be able to facilitate all of this. He wouldn't even say this himself because I don't even think he realizes it, but they've learned from him, like for example, the work ethic that the kids have learned. Even in his own stride, he's teaching without even realizing it, because our whole life has become a learning experience, if that makes sense. So, interesting thing to think about, you teaching when you don't even realize you're teaching, and they're learning when in a normal situation it's not necessarily from 8 to 2 sitting with that book. It's learning from life and the people around you. And when you are homeschooling, it becomes a conscious thing.
Is one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. Her and I are really good friends, and we've known each other for the past 8 years. Her husband's name is Nico, and they have 4 beautiful children, Nina, Luca, John, and Anna. They home educate, they live close to us, our children are friends, so we do lots of activities together.
I met you a year after you started?
Yeah, the year after I started, we were doing science and other things together, and then the boys got so close to each other. And they must have been, what, 6? Six.
So these tiny little boys, and now they're these big giants who go a bit wild, but it's still very fun.
It gets a bit more dangerous
as they get older.
She's gonna go flying, man.
A big part of home educating is that you get asked so many questions. Not only us as parents get asked the questions, but the children get asked questions as well. Joey, what's the question people ask you the most?
How do you socialize?
Did you ever get lonely?
Oh.
I remember in my own life, before I home educated, I couldn't really understand it. I almost wanted to go into people's home to know what do they do and how do they do it.
About 2 years ago, Cami and I were sitting outside on the sunny steps, and we were talking about how difficult it is to answer all of these questions. And do you remember what you said, Cami?
Yeah, I remember. I said, imagine if there was a documentary where people could see for themselves what it's like.
So as we were talking about
you had a light bulb moment.
Yes. Why don't we just make a documentary?
I should have known it coming from Rushka, because before I knew it, there was a script, there was a meeting, there were tickets booked, everything was happening.
I was doing my Bachelor of Arts degree at a film university. I'd been working as a freelance filmmaker for a while, so I knew about pre- and post-production processes, had all of the equipment. Luca had been doing videography for a while.
I'd been doing videography and photography for quite some time in my spare time, and I was home educated at the time as well. So.
Yeah, all of the resources were there. It was perfect.
I still remember very clearly that first early morning, waking up and the excitement we felt. I remember trying to get Ruth out of bed.
Oh no. Come on.
She's stubborn in the morning.
No.
Carrying our bags down the stairs, packing the car. And on the other side, the Stukkens were doing the same thing.
A checklist?
Ourselves.
Yes.
I think I'll hold on to these for a while.
Well, how about I have them?
Imagine the dogs in the car.
So guys, how are you feeling? Are you nervous?
Nervous? Excited. I'm excited! Nervous. Extremely excited.
I'm a little bit like a butterfly, but it's a nice excitement.
Hello!
Gents. Otherwise, you're going to have a Land Rover in the shop.
Bye. Unfortunately, Dad couldn't come with us. We'd be gone for a week. But we had our whole send-off squad waving goodbye to wish us well at the beginning of the journey.
Can't really see how nice it is from the road, and then when we drove into that little restaurant place with ivy up the wall, and
it looks so
It was a big surprise.
Cool.
Wow, look at all the grapes.
These are mostly table grapes. Yeah, very fancy.
Oh my goodness, what is that?
That is the mill for milling flour.
Oh wow.
It's so neat.
My husband couldn't come. Oh wow. Oh my gosh. That's so beautiful. I just want to live here, boy.
Yeah, bro, it's quaint as well.
I'm Nico. Pleased to meet you, Nico. Hazel. Hi, Hazel. Hello. Nice to meet you, Nico.
And that was the day that we met Adrian and Hazel. And we sat over a lunch and we had an amazing discussion.
Yeah, I just know. Look at the sun. Imagine what you did.
Fresh bread, guys. I'm sure this was baked this morning.
Yes, that's right.
There's a feast, I can tell it. Oh,
cheese.
Is that cheese? Cheese as well.
Oh my god. Oh.
Had massive platters of food.
It was
You could
cheese
eat it.
and
That's what I've
bread.
been-
There was like a million choices. It kept like overflowing and everything with like food.
Successfully hijacked that bracket.
They told us about their community and how they are in the second generation of home education. That was amazing.
None of us ever foresaw these things. I think what happened is that homeschooling became dominant in this community somehow. I mean, there's a perfectly good high school in the village next door, which is about 5 kilometers from here. And but people just said, well, it's better at home, you know. So, and the children stayed. They all stuck around, and as a consequence, the average age of the town has dropped from 54 plus minus when Hayes and I arrived here 25 years ago. It's dropped to 29. Now, where do you hear of a rural town with an average age of 29?
It is.
It's unusual. But I hope the young people can speak for themselves, and they will, I'm sure.
Yeah, but it seems like here you've seen almost like the end product, if I can put it that way.
I'd say
it's like we are like, what's going to happen?
60% there, yeah. It seems like it's almost almost full circle, and it seems to be going around for the. You can see the early stirrings of the second iteration of it.
The grandparents, the children, and their children are all homeschooled. And it was also interesting to hear how, because you always wonder, how do people hear about it and how do they get into wanting to home educate? And they told us about their good friends who introduced them to homeschooling.
The Hobler sort of opened the way for us because we met their children and we realized that they were so precious. How could they be so precious, you know? And then Yaki said, no, they took them out of school. We didn't know that they'd taken them out of school. And they said, no, we took them out of school. And we homeschool them now. And we thought, no, we've got to have a piece of this.
They came to visit us. The children piled out of the bus and they stayed for a few days. At the end of a few days, 2 days, Jackie said to me, listen, if you can find me a rental house here in Tweerivier, let us know. We'll move up to Tweerivier. Our oldest daughter ended up marrying their eldest son.
No. We have a video of Emily's first birthday when your nun was also 1 year old. He turned one a little bit earlier that year, and she waddles. She just started walking in her nappies, and she waddles up to him and she pats him on his head. And Linda said, there she was choosing her husband. I couldn't even
This is Emily, and that's your nun. So they both ate in this photo. This is the time.
You can actually turn it.
For me, I've always been homeschooled, so it's a little strange for me to imagine anything else, to be honest. That was a really good experience for me to realize that I could do this of my own accord, like from my own, I was strong enough without my parents forcing me to do something. And I would love for my kids to have that same experience. That it's a good part of growing up, where you're not just forced by teachers or parents to do something, but you have to do it from your own strength.
We wanted to ask you about you being home educated yourself.
Yes.
And now you've got your own children and that is your plan for them. And we wanted to ask you about that.
It almost feels as if when I started homeschooling, my life began. I felt like I woke up in a way.
Yes.
Interesting. I just remember when we started homeschooling, or when my parents didn't even thinking about it, I was very excited about it. I felt like it was the right thing. What was very special for me about it was that my parents, they were doing it because they believed it was the best thing for us, and I suppose it made us feel very special to them. And, it means, I think it really means a lot to a child.
So obviously because they made you feel like that by doing that, you're going to do the same for your kids.
Yes, I don't have that fear of the fact that I'm not a teacher or that I'm not qualified. You know, for me it's about the relationship, and I believe life is learning. You know, everything in life is learning, so I don't want it to just be we're sitting down learning now and now off you go, you stop learning. You know?
Yeah, life is your curriculum.
Life is my curriculum. I really believe, I'm very excited about the possibility of my children developing in their strengths. I'm not dealing with a classroom of children. I can actually individually see what their interests are, encourage them in those directions, and also their weaknesses. Like I can see what their problem areas are, even in their characters, whatever, and help them overcome things. Not like I will know exactly what to do, but at least I'll be aware of it and try things, and help them figure things out. So that's my vision.
The classroom environment isn't necessarily the best for teaching kids at different levels and different speeds and giving each kid the one-on-one attention. One kid might learn faster than others, one kid might learn slower, and if you homeschool, you can specifically tailor the teaching to that kid or what they need, instead of just being a generic classroom, one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Then I remember we went to the parents of Yunnan.
Yes.
The parents of Yunnan.
And the ones who introduced Adrian and Hazel to homeschooling
yes,
in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah. We really wanted to trace it back like that to get the parents, you know, and their children, and then like their children's children.
No, think about the whole Michael Green. Yeah, yes, we all. This is my oldest daughter. Hi there. Hi. And yeah, that's my boy, and that's my daughter, and all her kids, and Cammy's kids, and that's her husband, and all of her kids are also at home. Okay.
It's like a snake. Did they come back?
And then,
So how many children did you have? We'll go back to the details. How many children did you have?
we had 7 children.
Okay, so
eventually.
So you had 7 children.
Yeah.
Okay, my oldest is 28 and my youngest will be 14 in 2 weeks. Yeah. This is Hannah and she's my third child.
So Hannah, you were homeschooled your whole life, were you?
In the beginning, when we started our homeschooling history, we worked according to specific curriculums. They would study languages and they would study maths. I would actually try and give them a good foundation up until the end of, say, junior school. And then from then on, they could be more choosy and go in a specific direction if they wanted to. And the amazing thing is that there were many opportunities that opened up for them.
In my experience, I've seen the things that make successful people. It's communication, 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 communication. I mean, so often that's the key, is communication. And at the moment, if I say what actually makes them successful in their work, it's their communication skills. Okay, there are other things you need, character, of course, you know, so work ethic. My kids worked, you can ask them. They worked hard, you know, but they didn't do meaningless jobs. They do things that were essential to our living. We live in a farm, so it's milking cows and fetching them. And it doesn't seem like much, but if you have to do that every single day of your life, you know, whether it rains, whether you don't feel well, you've got to do the same job. By the time you get to be a young person, you're very mature because, you know, you've taken on that responsibility.
I think I would have to follow on from what Jackie said, because so much of your life, our life here on the farm, is actually simply doing the day-to-day chores. So that was an integral part of their education. That was the thing that I wanted for them. I wanted them to learn to give themselves and to develop their characters, and that would actually mold them and help them, because I believe exactly what he was saying, that is actually what would prepare them best to actually handle life.
Definitely with all of those families that we were interviewing, their independence, self-sufficiency, definitely.
Yes. Yeah.
Also really strong roots.
Yeah. I think those characteristics, like, were really made evident in the next family that we visited.
Yes.
On the farm.
Definitely.
The orchard and
shepherd.
Yes, the little shepherd
house.
Yes, in the house.
Yeah.
I thought they were like vegetables.
Hello, I'm Lena today.
Hello. Rushka, okay. Anna, okay. Ruth, okay.
You don't have to remember.
We've been through that before.
Okay, very nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Erin. So for you, what is it about having your children at home that means the most to you?
I had children to raise them myself, so I enjoy being with them. I hope they enjoy being with me most of the day.
Of course we do.
And we wanted our children to have a bit more space. We were living in suburbia, and we wanted them to have opportunities that maybe we didn't have as a child.
And how do you guys feel? Let's ask older brother first.
Older brother.
What is your favorite thing about being able to just be at home?
Well, I suppose it's the freedom that I have. Tending to my orchard and gardens on the other side there. And I like playing the piano a lot.
So what's your favorite thing?
Favorite thing? No, everything's my favorite. I like everything.
And who else has a favorite thing out of you guys? You? What's your favourite thing that you love doing?
Working with sheep.
Working with the sheep.
He looks like
Have you guys got sheep?
Yes, we've got sheep and a cow and chickens.
So it seems like there's a lot of cooperation in the family.
Yes.
Like teamwork all
Yes.
the time.
We take each day as it comes and we do what we need to do, and tomorrow is another day.
It's just a nice experience for all of us. And we're just happy.
We just close the gate, Michael. So this house started building when I was 12.
This damn son is building his whole house from scratch, man. I went in and I was like, he told me, I was like, so how's your life? I'm building a house. I was like, whoa!
Not only was he building a house, he was building a house with the money he made from the vegetables.
From
that he
his
was growing.
orchard.
Yeah.
So how do you know how to build an entire house?
So I'm taking direction from my dad. The measurements are quite difficult. Those are quite mathematical calculations to get the walls.
So you
absolutely
do all the physical work?
Yes, all the physical work. Occasional help from my brothers. And the money I make from growing stuff next door. The idea of the orchard also is to generate future income, and then that could be used for money to build infrastructure like this. So it's farming basically. That is what it is. This is our apple orchard. We've got 70 trees here, 11 different varieties. This type here is called Aztec. We've got Rosy Glow, which is a type of pink lady. We've got Crips Red, which is a newer commercial type. Oregon Red Spur, Golden Delicious, African Carmine, Royal Beauty, what dark red, and almost purple. That's the colour of it.
The window of how life is, like how life can be, is so wide. There's so many different aspects and ways in which you can go about living. It's all different individuals living the same life that we have in a completely different way, which I thought was so cool.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Cheers, guys.
The other guy kind of reminded me of Dylan, which is nice. It was like a huge amount of information to process.
Yeah, it was. The camera crew also, I'm sure that they just crashed after that day.
The first day was probably actually the most exhausting day.
I remember getting there and being like, where am I gonna sleep? You know?
Oh yeah, I remember
and
that.
then getting into the room and being like,
Yeah, there's
why
an
is this so?
entire house.
Yeah,
And there
why
were
is
two,
it-
there wasn't just
that-
one.
Why is this so luxurious?
Yeah. Casual. Check this cute bedroom.
Wow.
Look there.
Hectic.
Dibs. Dibs.
Oh, fam.
Dibs.
Fam, I wanted it.
This.
No.
Okay, change on chart. Ready? Rock, paper, scissors. One.
First to three.
No, first to one. Right, yeah, come. Rock, paper, scissors, shit. Yeet! Ow!
Yeet!
Me and George.
Oh, my back.
How do you feel now?
I'm tired, yeah. I don't know what it'll be tomorrow, but I think today, the first day, there was definitely a build-up of
Yeah.
expectation and
Yeah.
anticipation. But yeah, I do feel tired, but good tired.
And so we entered the town.
I'm gonna play Jingle Bells.
It's too loud for this town lighting.
Give us feedback.
Say bye-bye again.
My house?
Bye, my
It's very nice to meet you.
Goodbye, camera. Wow. Hey, Luca.
Hi, Breeze. Only meeting you, kan ik niet hangen vast.
Bye-bye.
I'm gonna walk the rest of the way.
We were driving, we were feeling like pretty good.
Oh, we're in the swing of things.
Yeah, we were solidly in the swing of things. The scenery was stunning. We were driving through like one of the most beautiful parts of the Karoo. Really, really beautiful scenery. I remember I was filming you outside. You were standing on the wall with your ukulele.
Oh, jeez.
And then I heard her saying, we've got to turn around, we've got to turn back. And I turned around and I asked, what's going on? And my mom was like,
oh no, one of the back tires of our car, not our car, but the other car, has just burst. So that's why.
What? Seriously?
Yeah, that's why we stopped on the side of the road. We're just gonna go back and go see if they're okay. So.
We must be speedy though, so we get there on time. What time are they expecting us?
Well, when a tire bursts, then the schedule changes.
Gee whiz.
Shame.
What's the chance you stop by a farmer?
Shame.
Jeez, bro.
Maybe they timed their burst. Can you believe it? Oh my god.
I don't know what it was, like something happened and then it started to go.
Oh no.
Bang! No, just went ha! And then went.
Should we tell? We're very late for the.
Yeah, we better tell.
I
don't have any date.
Or do you think it's the case of going in one car and getting? It wasn't quite straightforward.
No, we couldn't find the tools to fix the tire.
And you found so many people, you couldn't find them. We had everything in place, but you didn't have this one tool.
For one point, I was kind of like scared because I was like, well, what is gonna happen? We were in the middle of nowhere, and our next destination is like 2 hours away.
There's no garage to fix it. There's no nothing. Thankfully, there were kind farmers who helped us.
Oh, how did you get
Two
to us?
farmers came. He was driving by, and
one of them brought a tool.
Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah.
he passed by, stopped,
Yes.
an angel, an
Yes.
incredible kind man, stopped
Yes,
and said,
yes.
how can I help?
Yes.
And he got back into his car and
drove
went back
all
to
the way
farm.
back to his farm because we didn't have what we needed. Yeah.
Yeah, and he got the tool we needed.
I think it would fit, yes.
Does it
This one, yes.
I was so happy on the blanket.
You guys were
Had a casual nap.
Yeah, you
I
guys
wasn't
were
even sure
eating.
what had happened. Everybody was just running around and I was lying on the, nice person put a blanket on the floor.
This is where it happens.
Yeah. Fixed.
With the whole gang of us together, we got the tire fixed.
Off we went.
En route to Oudtshoorn.
shame.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but then so we even
stuck my hair.
Well, we didn't have the tools to fix the tie.
Hello.
So to meet you. Elmo.
Okay, this is Anna.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hello. I love your dress.
She's just going to be here a minute because
Are you
she's
doing your
now picked up.
drivers? Are you?
Yes.
No, like
No.
quarter to one.
But there's a lot of things that the kids want you to fill in. There's a lot of things that the kids want you to fill in.
Oh, really?
I'll see you later.
Yes.
Okay, it's important.
License test. This is yes, she's doing a driver license test.
Now, what I wanted you to express with this lady. You see how fast she moves. She's running around. There, that must go there, that must go there. She's getting a million things done at the same time. What was your nickname?
Flat spin.
Flat spin. Because you move so fast and you're always doing so much.
Yes.
Oh wow.
These breads are freshly baked this morning. Sorry. Well, the other surprise we have for you.
What?
Okay, is we're going to present the team
Okay, wait.
with an ostrich egg.
Yes.
Taken from the veld.
Oh, you mean not just the shell? You mean it's the eggs inside?
Yeah, it's a full. It's a full
ostrich egg. Can you eat it?
Yes. Just right. Like one big egg. It's 24 eggs. Yeah, it's just one huge egg. We actually thought of this is what we're gonna have for lunch because it's the trick is to break the shell.
I think we might have broken the yolk. Oh, don't give yourself a brain tumor. No, that guy.
I can use this.
Because of the label that we said.
It's really nice.
Yes.
So 3 questions. First, where you are in your school career, kind of time-wise, we would like to know.
I just finished
I
a
just
few
finished.
weeks ago, yes.
Oh,
same as what?
Yeah, I wrote my final Cambridge A-level exams on the 29th of October, so...
So quite a few milestones that have been
Yes,
achieved.
yes.
She's your oldest
My
daughter?
oldest child.
Your oldest child? Oh, you've got older children.
No.
Mom, you could throw me around. Cut that
No,
off.
I've got one daughter and 2 boys.
Many people in South Africa know you. I don't know if you know that, but and speak of you in a very nice way, yes, and they know about you. And in your journey, what inspired you to want to homeschool your kids in the first place?
Okay, home education has always been part of our vision. So since Alma was born, we always knew in our heart there must be a better way to educate your children, and school is not it. That's when I started researching the whole concept and the whole idea and so on. And the more I read, the more I realized, well, yeah, this makes sense. My background is I'm an industrial engineer, and I've been working in the business process engineering environment, so I understand business processes. Usually, business processes are designed to make something sort of work like a factory, and schools are businesses with business processes that are very efficient to handle like a factory. You can't develop potential in a factory. If you want to develop an individual interest and according to her or his passions and according to his life purpose, then school will not be helping. Okay. And also because school is a system with all its constraints, like a business organization, it needs to be there. But if you want to work with people and you talk about relationships and developing character and so on, then it doesn't work and it doesn't make sense anymore. Like most of us, you like go out of school, you study something and you get a job, and then in your 30s you try and figure out what you really like. You know.
That is very true.
And I think that's for me the saddest thing about the school is that the children don't have enough time and they're not supported to get to know themselves truly. So they don't even know what their interests are. And I don't think it's an easy process, and I also don't think it's something you just discover in a year and that's it. But if the process can at least start earlier, then you don't have to waste so much time. With home education, we hope to accomplish the fact that they will discover who they are earlier.
Yeah, so I'm from PE, like you guys as well, and I'm one of 5 girls. Up until grade 8 I was homeschooled, and then grade 9 I went into school. I took a gap year and then I've come to Stellenbosch to study civil engineering. I've got something to say about homeschooling and being at university, and that's that you can pick out a homeschooler from a mile away because they really thrive. The people that are often in a big group would connect so well with. I get chatting and oh, of course you were homeschooled, like it makes sense, and there's just this amazing connection point of oh, you just understand certain things, but in a positive way. You could easily pick out the homeschoolers. There's just like a wholesomeness to a person that has been homeschooled that I've discovered at varsity. So and recently I've been so aware that it's so nice to be around someone who's secure in who they are. Like it just sets you free to enjoy being you. And I really think almost those fundamental years just in the safety of a nurturing home are really developed into who I want to be at quite a young age. That by the time I went into school I could go in with confidence, even having no idea what to expect in the school environment.
What are a few things that stand out for you? Because you're studying medicine now. Is there anything that that you can say that you can draw from because you were at home that benefits you in studying or with where you are now?
Yeah, I think it did a lot for me. I think it gave me a real sense of self. By the time I went to school, I wasn't trying to find myself. I didn't have self-esteem problems. I went there not to be not to sound like I have a big head or anything, but I went there knowing I'm a beautiful girl, I'm God's child, I'm valued, I'm loved, and especially because my mom was just so affirming in everything she did. In everything we did, she said, oh, couldn't have done it better. You are the best child in the world. Thank you, God, for blessing you.
So why don't you have such a big head then after all that? Or did she say?
God did it for us.
So my name is Chris Mattia. I'm married to someone that was homeschooled. I think uniqueness. I think that's the big thing. Not thinking like everyone that's out there. That really stands out, I think.
So my name's Rake Ekstian. I got married in the beginning of the year to a lovely homeschooled girl, and being not homeschooled, I realized that it's not. There's a lot of things I didn't get. I was kind of spoon-fed everything, and with her she kind of opened my mind and made me realize things that I haven't really properly thought about, and I was just accepting it as it was, and she kind of twisted me out of there, so no.
I think you really, really will grow as a person, and like massively, not just on the small scale. And I think, I don't know, it's like an opportunity to make your life your own. You're not stuck in the system, being told what to do, you're not put in a box. You're kind of like a tree, right? And you're allowed to grow now.
Through your home education, you got to help them to discover what they are good at, because not everybody's good at the same things. And then yes, they've got to learn a certain level of maths and literacy and all those academic skills, but when they know what they're good at, then they can believe in themselves that I'm going to be successful in what I choose to go and do. And that's, yeah, that to me is an important part of finding their interpretation of what is success.
She's not to do that, so you capture her like she is. So, Mom,
Tell
tell us about your daughter.
All three of my daughters are crazy about gymnastics and they've all done really well. And for Kaylee, this year, 2018, was really special because she came first overall in South Africa in her age group for women's artistic gymnastics. So it was really just the reward for years of hard work and training. And we're very proud of it.
What kind of gymnastics?
I do 3 disciplines: artistic gymnastics and double knee, trampoline and tumbling. At 1:30, my coach comes and picks us up and we do gym until 7. Then we drive back and we get home at 8. Most of the girls from my gym, they get there sometimes a bit late because they have to do school. So I can kind of compare and see how our lives are different. Because we homeschooled, we do have a lot more time to do them than they do.
And your age is not
My name is Caden. I'm 16 years old and I want to go into film composition. I kind of dropped school last year because of music. And
Sorry, when you say drop school, can you just... You
as in school work.
Just explain
not,
that.
Not as in homeschool, as in curriculums. And I decided to do music kind of full time because I was doing some music, but I wanted more time to go towards music and I couldn't because it was maths and science and this and that, next thing trying to fit it. I did a film composition course because I wanted to go into that. And then I decided I wanted to try again to Berkeley Music School because they have an online correspondence thing you can do. So you can be anywhere in the world and do their degree.
Can I say something about the music thing?
Yes, please.
So with this whole curriculum thing, what happened was, it was always the plan in my mind that we were going to do Cambridge. So when we've got a 21-year-old as well, so the idea is when they turn 16, they can then choose. Do they want to do Cambridge or IB? What do they want to do now? And we didn't know that not doing anything was an option. So not choosing one of those IB, Cambridge, CAPS or whatever. So that's been a journey for me as well now, having to let that go. I mean, he sat me down eventually and said, Mom, I've got this. Just let me go. And for me to have trusted what I've done and we've done together in the last 16 years, that he's at a point to now run with that. So that was, it was hard for me when he chose to do that. And that's been a hard journey for me to let that go.
Every mother has this fear of, am I doing enough, you know, and we don't want to sort of let our kids slack off because they're going to get behind. But we're not keeping up with anybody. We're recognizing each child as an individual, and I think that's the important thing. And then the other thing that we've done is we've ensured that they learn the basics like how to read and write and do maths, but we've given them freedom to choose other things that they want to learn. So one of my daughters is arty. She used to go to art classes. She's doing online art courses. One of my sons is very good with building things and doing things with his hands. So he did an electronics course at one stage. And so things that I can't teach, we outsource and we give them a customized education, not just everybody doing the same thing, because that's what mommy wants them to do. They have a say in what they're learning.
Most of the days, the whole day is an education, not just the 2 hours spending in front of books. That's just the basics that they need to learn. The real life stuff is taught every day by everyday interaction with whatever it is, because we both work from home business-wise. When we do business or we have people come here and we have meetings and they sit in and they participate. So it's always, my son, he's turning 19 soon. He knows as much about business and taxes and opening bank accounts as it took me 20 years after school to get all that information and find it all over myself. Because he sits in with all our taxes, all our book work, all our business work, all the problems. That is the schooling that we like to do. Everyday kind of things that we were never taught at public school.
Yeah.
That could have been a project.
Yeah, I suppose why did we begin the homeschooling journey was because we were first introduced to it because other people were homeschooling. And we were seeing evidence of things in their children that we kind of thought were commendable, like really special.
Nicholas and Sophie went to Clarendon and finished grade 1 and grade 3 there. And I mean, they kind of knew that we were thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I did ask them sometimes, what do you think about homeschooling, schooling, and but then they actually made the call.
My parents started homeschooling us because we asked them from school if we could try, because our friends were doing homeschooling, and we said, well, can we try? And after that we did it for 1 year and we really liked it, so we've been carrying on.
Why did you ask your parents to homeschool you?
Because it's much cooler than school, because you don't have to wear school uniform and you don't have to do homework, and you can have long breaks in the middle.
When we educate, our first and foremost role is to be able to walk with our children to a point where they are able to let go of our hand with their skills and literacy and creativity developed as much as we can provide for. But essentially it's the inherent sense of self and who they are and their identity in God that we want them to be able to walk away with. So that's our role first and foremost. Everyone will quote that the job they're going to walk into haven't even been in bed yet, so we know that. Suddenly it began to impress upon us, I guess, the need to raise critical thinkers, kids who wonder, kids who question, kids who explore.
Yeah. Liesl, how many kids have you got?
2 beauties.
2, okay.
Yes.
And you've always been homeschooling?
Yes. The thing that I appreciate the most is that I can learn about things that I'm interested in and grow in that, instead of just doing stuff that I know I'll never use in my life, and seeing who I am.
We need entrepreneurs in this country, and I think when you know who you are at 14 already, then you can start aiming toward that. When you're 18 and you're done with school, then you're not still wondering, oh, what should I study, or whose money can I waste? You know what you want and you go for it.
Wanting to soon be able to have my own big organic egg farm. Soon I would like to show people a different way of farming their own chickens, and for me to bring organic eggs into the market over here.
I don't want them to find themselves cloned in an employment situation where they feel completely trapped. I do want them to find themselves in a self-employed position where they are capable of running their own business, free to come and go, you know, and for me that's the nuts and bolts of it. Right now at the moment we've spent an amazing amount of time getting them out, letting them run their own businesses, letting them tally up make the floats, tally up the money afterwards, realize they've made no money or they've made money, and what worked and what didn't work, and sitting down doing scenario planning with them, saying, hey, you know, and just being a coach actually. And my biggest wish for them is that they can run 5 or 6 businesses and be able to adapt to the circumstances around them.
Yeah, what would you hope for them to be as adults?
For them to be exceedingly happy is one of my biggest desires for them. To be happy with themselves first, and when they eventually get to their own families, to be able to be happy in that and pass that on. And to be creative wherever they are, no matter what it is, in business, with their friends, with relationships. It's all important to me, because your entire life is the everything of us. You know, it's our friendships, our families, our dogs and cats, it's your businesses, it's everything. You can't be completely happy if one part of you isn't happy. So to help them to be able to realize when they're not happy and to be brave enough to change it. You know, to be brave. They need to be brave.
And how many kids you guys got?
Are you rolling?
Yeah.
How's that? We've got 6 children in the house at the moment.
Yeah.
We've got 2 boys and a girl that are our biological children. We are registered as a safe house, which means they phone us if they have a child that needs a house for immediately and normally for 3-month period to see if the situation at home changes or not. 8.5 years ago we took in Samuel, which is a foster child. Samuel has got what they call fetal alcohol spectrum, which means that his mother took alcohol while she was pregnant with him.
And they said to me, forget about reading and writing. Don't even try that. Now it's writing and reading, and he's definitely making progress.
But I would never have thought that he had that, because he comes across as a perfectly normal child.
Yes.
Okay, 1, 2, do it again. 1, 2, 3, go. Hold that, hold that, hold that. Oh, we did it! Okay, get up.
I would say for me the most precious thing is the fact that a child like Samuel that we have will never be able to cope in mainstream, and at this stage he's not aware of the fact that he has extra challenges. Even having 5 of them that we schooled up until now, they all have different learning styles. So we kind of just encourage the strong points, their strengths, and the rest developed at their own pace, and that's brilliant to me.
A lot of people who have children with disabilities really benefit from this holistic approach. They have the time, they have the space, and they have the opportunity to be able to give them individual attention and a holistic education.
Okay, so Dylan was born and he looked fine, and he was fine. He was a very sweetie child. But he had lots of colic, we had lots of issues. I was very tired, mommy. He was highly sensitive to sound.
You'd run away when an airplane flew over.
His speech was delayed. He's got like extra senses where we can't feel those things. He can. Noises affect his entire body.
Obviously he's been tested for hearing through all of this over and over again. And every time we get the test results back, his hearing it's perfect. It's better than good, it's perfect. But the real problem is that he can't process what he's hearing. So even in a classroom of 15 kids sitting in the front, there was no ways it was ever going to work, because he just simply, the minute somebody is scratching around on the desk or tapping a foot somewhere, he's hearing all of that, but in a loud, very amplified way.
When I realized Dylan wasn't coping with what was being fed to him, I realized it was time to change. I needed to find things that would work for us. And that's where my diversion started. About 2 years in, Dylan comes to me the one day and he says, Mom, I didn't understand how much I was struggling in school because I couldn't actually concentrate very well. And I said to him, and now? He says, no, it's easier now. I can just go into my room, I can work, and it's peaceful, and I can concentrate, and there's nobody distracting me.
So when a child is
added to your family, whether by birth or adoption or foster care, you never have guarantees that everything is going to be plain sailing. So sometimes you have a bit of a challenge in terms of a child that has developmental problems or learning style problems or whatever it may be. And the privilege of homeschooling is to be able to have the time and the sources to build into your child with therapy, experimenting with learning styles. So that is basically what we're doing with Christopher. He learns through play. Basically, our school day will look like games all the time. We do different kinds of stuff. We play lots of cards, board games with the family, which he enjoys. He plays table tennis with the family. He plays golf, which he's really good at. And then he's also part of a soccer school. In the end, he has to be able to write, he has to be able to read, but we'll get there in time. We don't have goals set for that. Whenever it happens, it will happen. So that is our thing. We try to encourage him in what he is good at, and we build the weaknesses however we can.
So far, we've been seeing a lot of focus on the individual and the child and how home education caters for that, which is great. But there is another aspect that needs to be explored, and that's the social context.
That's definitely been one of the biggest questions we've ever been asked.
I think the biggest one.
Probably the biggest for you also, and I think many homeschoolers, is how do the children socialize? From my perspective, and even my kids' perspective, it sounds odd and strange to us when people ask that question, because socializing is one of the biggest aspects of home education.
But it's a fine, fine day for living. It's a fine, fine day to be here. It's a fine, fine day for living. It's a fine, fine day to be here.
I think our homeschool almost upbringing was it wasn't isolated at all. So we always homeschooled with a community of people. So my cousins were down the road and friends around the corner, and so we really pulled together different moms' resources and constantly were engaging with different kinds of people.
The oil doesn't mix it,
but the water does.
What happened to the water? What is the water?
It got bigger.
No, it did.
Went to 520.
I think that homeschooling and isolation can be very lonely. Kids need the community, they need friends, and so we had Jane's family, and there's 8 kids there. Rita's family, where there were 4 kids. Julia's family next door, where 3 of her kids was homeschooling. Prize up the road. So I think there's about 25 kids in the homeschool. And on a normal day, my mom would just split us, and we do our maths and English and science and a few other things. But on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we had group school. And so we'd have a mom at each house, a group in the study, a group in the lounge, and then at each house there'd be a different subject going on for a different age group. So
did you just walk from house to house every time you had it? Oh, that's cool.
And
did one of the parents from each house teach one of the subjects? Was it their passion?
So my mom studied, she has a BSc in geology. So she taught geography. Rita, she did chemistry at university. There was an Afrikaans lady who taught us Afrikaans. What else we learned? Oh, art. Jane Jurley's dad, John French, taught us. He was an amazing art teacher, and then Nicole Pryor also taught us art for a bit.
People have different ways of doing things, and that way is really interesting. If people are close, that you went from house to house, and in a group.
Yeah, and it takes the pressure off the person hosting because they don't have to host for everybody and find a place for everybody to learn. It's much easier if everybody sits their dining room table up.
Yeah.
So let me just tell you a little bit about their
Okay, so you're going to take your pencil, okay, and you're going to draw over the.
Have you seen these words before?
Physics, chemistry. Guys, you can also write everything. How do you spell body? Up of atoms.
Put it here. That's it.
They want to. When they're feeling.
From the time we found out I was pregnant with Serene, we wanted to actually, we spoke about homeschooling so often. And because lots of people are not aware of homeschooling and they don't have the knowledge behind it, we've been getting negative feedback. So I'd like to, educate the public about homeschooling. I don't have any negativity when it comes to her being social, because I know that's up to the parent.
Yeah.
The parent should introduce other curricular activities to the children, just like any school. You have a choice.
Our experience with homeschool kids, that's what's, it hit it on the head there. So we want Serene to be like that,
What did you see in them? What is it?
Just the personality, they're more confident, they're not afraid.
They're very social.
There's a certain awareness that they have.
And just to converse with them as well, the maturity levels. I just found it amazing. It's made my decision firm that this is what I want for Serene, and we're gonna start very soon.
And why did you start?
When did you start? It was I met a friend and she invited me to a little play group.
What I did was a foreign concept to me, homeschooling.
Yeah.
So what I did is I thought I'm going to be one up, and I made an appointment with the kids. And I asked the mother, can I talk to your child about homeschooling? I wanted to know, how do you feel about not having friends around you and all those stupid questions that one has if you don't know homeschool.
Yeah.
And there was this 12-year-old boy, and he sat me down and he said, well, you probably want to know, how do we start our morning? I said, yeah, okay. And he explained to me, and he said, you probably want to know, how does my mother know we've done enough? And I said, yeah. He just led the whole conversation, this 12-year-old boy. And at the end of the conversation, I went to my wife and I said, I've got no idea what they do for schooling, but the character of that child is something else. The confidence he has to look a grown man in the eye and explain to him, I love that and I want that for my own children. And today I can say I've got 3 teenagers in a home and they are like that.
What do you think grew that in them?
I think the big thing is the age thing, It's not that I can only talk to my peers. I can talk to anybody who's interested.
I think that homeschoolers kind of socialize more than school kids. Because in the school, you're limited to the kids in the school. But as homeschoolers, we meet school kids on the camps. We have a lot of homeschooler friends, church friends. With our sports, we get friends, and we socialize a lot.
And at school, it wouldn't be the case if you were to school.
Yeah, and like my mom said, you only play with the same age people. My best friend is 15 and I'm 13, and you have different kinds of friends.
A big skill that I learned as a homeschooler was to be able to engage with different people from different age ranges. And so those people skills of learning to interact and find commonality and get along with different spectrum of people, for me has been incredible in the work environment, because you just get all kinds of characters, and that's something I definitely learned in the homeschooling years and in the diversity of experiences that we had.
to ask you, in your homeschool, like now looking back that you've been homeschooled your whole life, what you value the most?
I definitely valued the relationships that you build with your family specifically, because I know a lot of friends and people that, you know, they don't have bad relationships with their immediate family, so parents and siblings, but it's not on the same depth that I have with my parents and siblings. It's an honest relationship, and it's real, and we really know that we love each other. So I think that's a very big advantage of homeschooling, is that family unit that is kept together.
Home education is very much a parenting thing. It's about parenting. It's not just choice of schooling for your child. It's a complete parenting thing, because there's a lot of philosophies that you will instill and values that you will impart and share with your children, making decisions about their emotional well-being, their social well-being, their intellectual well-being, their spiritual well-being and so on, which is, again, both at the same time, it can make you afraid, or it can be wonderfully freed.
Our homeschooling journey started where we took our daughter out for medical reasons, and then we took my son out. You know, when you've lost something that was very dear to you, and you've lost that, and then one day you walk somewhere and you find it, and that joy you experience of finding it, I felt that like tangibly about my children, that it was something which I'd lost, and then it had returned to me as a father.
As one oldish person told me, well, what's the use of having kids if you can't raise them yourself, you know? It's not the responsibility of state, it's not the responsibility of the church, it's your responsibility as a parent. And here we are, two of them finished already, and we won't do it any other way.
It's such a foreign concept to me, coming from a very traditional home. But then also my understanding of education was a bit warped as well, based on a traditional school model, which was your ability to learn facts and regurgitate those facts in a closed system. And the more I've researched and partnered with people, I've realized that education is the greatest responsibility stroke privilege which we should never willingly or without a lot of serious thought abdicate to someone else, because it really is a parent's responsibility. I believe that now more fully.
I think the family unit is the most important relationship that you have. You're giving your children the skills to build positive relationships, and that is what I really enjoy with homeschooling, having had the time to spend with my kids to really get to know them, who they are.
It's like having Wi-Fi all the time. You know, at any time of the day, my kids can walk in and quickly say, "Hey, Dad, this or that," or whatever. So there's this continuous connection. There's not a severing of relationship and connection, and then you have to sort of get comfortable again with each other or whatever. You know, we are together all the time, and I think that's what family was intended to be.
How many have you got? How old are they?
We've got two who are, well, one is 13 and one is 12. I actually brought some reasons that they like homeschooling. So we adopted our last two when our children were 9 and 10 years old. And my girl, she's the 12-year-old, she was saying that the biggest reason for her why she loves being homeschooled is that then she gets to spend so much more time with her siblings. You know, she's like a little mom to them, and I enjoy seeing that and nurturing that. So when she, I see that which she won't have in the school, because everyone else is her age. So she can't bring out that mothering instinct, and she can't act on it. She's dead set on being a midwife.
So I enjoy homeschooling them because I get to see her passions.
It's the most natural thing that a mother will ever do for her kids. And it really has been, in my experience, it's been the biggest blessing just to be with my kids every single day, to watch them grow.
Many people later in their lives, they regret that they didn't have enough time with children. And many children don't necessarily remember maybe big house or the toys they had, but they always remember the time with their parents. And for us, that has been a precious thing that, I can say when I'm 60, I can say I have no regrets. I gave everything that I could do to my children within the capacity I have. So.
Probably.
Hello.
People.
Hello, guys.
Forgotten
Hi, Rushka. Okay, pleased to meet you. Hello. What's your name? Anna. Hello, Anna. Pleased to meet you.
Hi, Luca.
Luca. Hi, Luca.
Oh, that's great.
Exactly.
Are we ready?
Okay. Normally, don't you this is our real. I'm going to put you in the big one. It's fantastic. I got it for Christmas from my oldest sister who had to traipse all over England to find a teapot big enough for our family. But the owners are so good.
Go get him, go get him, go get him.
Thank you, lovely. All right. You bring the teapot.
It's like warm wind.
Susie, will you guys get drinks and stuff for everybody? We're going to have tea and cake, not cake, we can't have cake today, milk tart later.
Look, it's another perfect space. We'll probably have 25
kids coming in.
2,500 kids coming in and out of that door and slam. So
Yeah,
we're very
that's
interesting from that perspective. People go, oh, we're all big kids.
It's always one of those slightly difficult. We have 9 children.
Yeah.
But we lost our second oldest. Okay, so the oldest boy has passed away.
Yeah.
So we have 9 children, but I have only 8 living children with us now. So the oldest brother's not here. And living at home is 7.
Yes.
Katya, our oldest, is at varsity.
Yeah.
So,
That's how our day starts.
we'll start our morning with a morning offertory and a prayer together. We're Catholic. Our heart beats in a Catholic rhythm. We keep a liturgical year. It forms a part of our rhythm of life. And then some of us take the horses down. Susie and I particularly, and the little ones, we walk the horses down to the fields. And then we start the school mission to the schoolroom starts around 8. I have a loose curriculum. We're not enrolled, and that we study a eclectic, I suppose, curriculum. Those who know what to do their work, we do some subjects together, and it just turns out into a huge big discussion. And then 1.5 hours later, we're still talking about, something that happened in the 12th century somewhere, which has got nothing to do with anybody's work for the day. But
you actually have a room which you call
we have a school
like
room.
a school.
We have a school room.
And it's set up in a similar
Kind
way.
of like a big desk, and everybody sits around the desk. So no, it's not each to his own rhythm entirely, because certain disciplines must be learned whether you like them or not.
Yes.
So that's our thinking. I know homeschooling's flexi, and sometimes you can adjust according to, obviously, if you notice somebody has a special need at this stage, you accommodate.
Yeah.
But only up to a point, because the training is that slow training to master yourself, actually.
Yeah.
That's what we all want for Yeah. What is he trying to do? Something?
Okay, no, that's it's
Are you being a
beautiful, Penny, because
I think a father must basically create an environment that homeschooling can happen. Create a happy home. If you can create a place where you can protect your children and growing up these days. That is my feeling. But
that's powerful. Yeah.
Susan does, I would say, a lot of the real schooling.
Yeah.
I'm just there to steal the kids out of the schoolroom.
He used to come and steal them to go farming. People, Bucky Ray! No, he's nuts!
Okay, julle, kom, Bucky Ray, kom! Bucky Ray, kom!
Children grow in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for fun in that way. It's very hard to say no to fun.
All families are completely different. They're in different situations, different scenarios, they live in different places, they have different values. And that is why it's difficult to answer a person when they ask you, how do you home educate? Because they're only going to be hearing it from one person's perspective, and that will be from a person who is telling them how they basically parent their children. There isn't one way, because every single family is completely different.
Net twee kinders. Daardie is nie joune nie. Nee. Daardie een daar. Nee. What's your name?
My name is Paul. Paul Nicholas van Jaarsveld.
Okay.
We are most definitely fringe radical unschoolers.
Fringe radical unschoolers. That was the first time we'd come across that term.
When I first started home educating, there was one word, and it was homeschooling. Each and every family still did things differently, and they did it their own way, but there weren't words that were sort of separating these different kinds of ways of doing it. And one of the words that have come up over the last few years is the word unschooling. What exactly is it?
There was a conference happening in Johannesburg called the Reimagine Conference. We knew that a lot of unschoolers would be there. There would be different talks and discussions, opportunities to interview unschooling children and parents. It would give us a great inside look into the unschooling community.
That we can figure out how to work together.
I sort of speak from a more human approach. I believe that the X factor lies with humans at home. The first form of the household, the first form of the womb, the extension of the womb, the home.
From us personally, us being unschoolers, I find out how much freedom you have to explore and find yourself as what you want to be and who you want to be.
When I finally started de-schooling, it was like, oh, I can be me. And that's okay.
To learn from other cultures and from traveling from the world around you.
But what about, right? Some of them are the low-hanging fruit. But what about college? But what about socialization? Little tweaks that we need to do.
And that was, I know that you, before you even had kids, had an idea of how you wanted to have them at home and how you wanted to do this. And I find that very interesting, and I wanted to ask you about that process for people that might be thinking like that and want to meet someone or see someone so that they don't feel so isolated?
So I knew what I didn't want. I knew that we weren't going to do schooling. Traditional, standardized curriculum, compulsory schooling. But we went through a sort of a journey of saying, okay, what if we built our own school? How would it look? What would it be? So we had ideas, mixed age, project-based, getting in mentors.
When my parents started unschooling us, they didn't actually know there was such a thing as unschooling. They had this idea in their head. And as they went on, unschooling became more and more popular, and they somehow discovered it and learned terms like self-directed learning, and they was like, oh, this is this is that.
I think most people understand unschooling as not doing formal curriculum. Okay. Let's go to the history of that word. Because it leads into this.
Yes, please.
The history of the word unschooling comes from the 70s. So there was a group of people not in school. Some of them did curriculum. Some of them were religious and exclusionist. Some of them were hippies. Some of them were left-wing. There was a range. And some of them didn't do any school and didn't live. They lived in partnership, and they co-lived together and learned from life. But there was no differentiator.
In America, there was this advertisement for a product called Uncola, which was a spin-off just Coca-Cola. And someone took that and twisted it into unschooling. So to sell their product, their idea of unschooling, they spun off the term in that way. The story is obviously longer than that. I don't remember exactly how the advertisement went, but that's the general vibe of how the term came to be.
And everybody that practiced that way got it.
In the 70s already, this long?
In the 70s. And there's been a lot of writing since then, and a lot of practicing by lots of people, families.
And how did you fit? We had this chat earlier. I thought it was just fascinating. How did you fit the formal learning into that?
So my brother and I used to play this card game called Yu-Gi-Oh! And it had a lot of reading involved. So we'd every single day go ask Mom, what does this card say? Dad, what does this card say? And they'd tell us, and eventually we just memorize it, because the English language is all patterned. So it's very much the same as learning how to speak your native language, learning how to walk. It's such a necessity, and there's so much exposure to it that it's bound to happen.
I mean, there's many understandings of what a teacher is, right? Some say teachers just show you where to look, and then you see whatever you find is what you find. And other teachers go into detail about what there's different kinds of teaching. So you do teach because how we teach is we model. We model what kind of citizens, so we don't expect them to be curious and we're not curious. So we can't say you have to do an hour of reading every day, but I don't. You see, you have to treat people properly, but I'm not going to treat you properly. So you model.
So you lead by example.
And you also introduce things. You can say, oh, there's this, would this interest you? And they could go, not really, or yes, I'd like to explore that, and then like 2 weeks later say it's not for me. Since we're talking about unschooling and parenting, as adults we have this power over them that's given to us by society and the law. But we try to keep that power aside until we need to, like in the case of a hospital or emergency, we put our power aside and we partner with our children. And so there's no hierarchy.
So far, we'd interviewed a couple of people, we'd gone around and we'd spoken to whoever we could find. Most of them said similar things, but then we ran into Renuka. She had a completely different word to describe what she was doing. Natural learning.
I was really excited to hear what you do with natural learning, because that word is so beautiful. Where does that word stem from, natural learning?
I sort of started using it, and then when I was like researching, there are other people actually using it.
Yes.
So, but when I So I was just not comfortable with this idea of unschooling, and not because it was an but because I wanted something that represented more of what we were doing, because we were not unschooling, we were learning, and how we were learning naturally. The institution of learning took away the naturalness of it. You know, it made it unnatural. And I am reclaiming the naturalness of learning. So that is why I say we do natural learning.
It's a very easy terminology to relate to in how we actually do it.
Yes, because what we're doing is that we are learning naturally in our environment, however that environment may be, but there is no imposition, there is no expectation beyond that the child does what they want to do and they're happy and that they find their own space. So it's not, so that's why I use the term natural learning.
It's a beautiful, positive term.
Yes, I think it's very empowering.
Definitely. What do you do and how do you do it? I know obviously everyone's going to do it differently because everyone's natural is different. But how do you in your home? How do you do it?
What does it look like? Okay, so there's no typical day. There's no typical day, but there's a rhythm. And when my kids were younger, it was pretty much like we would get up at whenever someone's awake, they can get up. So it's not like, they would get up and we spend a lot of time reading in bed. So we'd all cuddle up and we'd read. And then we'll see what happens in the day, like who wants to do what. And, we just flow. So if somebody wants to do something, they would do it. If they required me to be part of it, I would be part of it. So it was a very sort of flowing, organic process. Nobody really dictated anything. Before your kids go to school, there's a certain way you are with your kids.
Yes.
And I don't see why one should suddenly change because they go to school. So it's that same organic process when they are born, and then you learn how to talk. Yes, and you talk and you do this, and then when you see they're excited about that, and then you move with that. It's that same concept. You just continue it.
Exactly. Yes, we do. But obviously, as I get older, the needs and the wants and the desires change. And then, do you what's your input in there?
Sometimes I just say, I'm just a driver.
Taxi driver.
I think I am there. And that's the main thing. I'm there for them if they need to talk about something and if they're interested in something and they want to do, so I make it happen. Creating a learning environment is more than just, it just happens naturally. There's a lot of behind the scenes that go on. So we have friends who now who's a parasitologist, for example, and then my kids will engage with him. A textbook can work if you really want to use it, it's great, but there's so many other ways in which you can still access that information. Our education is for life, so we do what life brings us and we go with that. So that's So I hope that makes sense. I hope it makes sense.
And it makes perfect sense. No, it does. I mean, that's what we do. It's nice the way you say it.
Have you never done that?
Can you break it up?
I know you're gonna have to figure out who you want to share with. She's like, I'm just gonna carry my
Eddie, do you want to help Inika just put some... So we don't follow any set curriculum. They learn from any situation that they are in. So it's just trying to bring those experiences into our day. As a parent, I look to see what they are interested in, and I try to expose them to different things and different adventures. And so we have done 1 or 2 road trips this year. That the one was to a family wedding, and we took a week to the Western Cape, and we stopped at different places. We meet so many people just at places. They'll go, and the next thing we're chatting to them, and we spend an hour having met new people, and it wasn't in our plan for the day.
This is where we discovered the traveling aspect of home education. What an incredible freedom to just pack your learning things and your books or whatever you have and go and learn.
Well, the freedom of homeschooling is just immense. It allows you to take everybody and say, you know what, well, let's go to Clarence for the week. And school just carries on. School doesn't have to stop. Actually, school you can have a great week of school being elsewhere. It allows you that freedom. If your job allows it, it's really something to think about. You can see the whole country and you can teach to the moment.
There were actually quite a few people that we interviewed who used travel, not only as a bonus, but as the actual means of education, the primary means of education, which was fascinating.
They don't have one set of a curriculum. My husband went on pension last year, and then he decided he wanted to go on tour South Africa and the neighbouring South African countries for about 3 years. And where we travelled, we did handle that piece of work because she's an audio and a visual learner. And for her to see and experience all the places that we've actually learned about in the books was just amazing, and I must admit, I loved it too.
I love the traveling. I learned a lot about the wild. John showed us the different kind of footprints of animals. We slept in the wild in tents, so there was blue wildebeests and rhinos and everything sleeping around us. What I like the most about schooling at home is that you can travel everywhere and you can still take your school with you.
I've been homeschooling for sort of on and off for a couple of years because we travel as well. So we've lived in England. My kids are born in England, so we've lived there for a few years. And my kids were at a Montessori school. And then the Montessori school closed down, and so I decided to homeschool them. So I kept my kids at home for a long time, and then we traveled to Egypt. And so because I wanted them to learn Arabic, I put them into a school in Egypt. They also, and then they were thrown into having to learn Arabic in a short space of time.
Tell us about how you felt about traveling around and learning Arabic. Tell us a bit about that experience.
Well, it was quite interesting. So, yeah, I was brought up in London, and yeah, we see world. When you're brought up in one place, you see world from just one perspective. But when you travel to another country, you see it differently. You see the world differently.
I think traveling is a big. That's an education in itself. It's a cultural, it's a life skills. It's it encompasses so many different subjects. And they learn so much from traveling that they wouldn't learn in a classroom at all. They understand poverty, they understand different cultures, they understand different religions, all these things because they've traveled and they've lived in different countries. And that's definitely something. Had I stuck them into a classroom, they would definitely not have learned that. So I feel that they've become very grounded individuals because of doing that. Also because I've been able to be fairly flexible with the curriculums that I was following. They started off on the Montessori curriculum, and I used a bit of an American mathematics curriculum. And then I've swapped them over to the British curriculum, and then in Cairo they were following the Egyptian curriculum. So we'll see how we are received in South Africa, whether we're going to live in South Africa long term or not, I don't know. But at least it gives us the flexibility that they will still be educated, and I think they will receive a much more holistic education than any curriculum can bind them by. They're free to study as and also pursue the subjects that they want to study.
In a way, what they were saying applied to us as well.
Yeah.
Like, we can vouch for what they were saying because we were traveling. We were on a trip, we were on a journey,
yes,
and we were exposed to a lot of things. You can see why they would say that.
Absolutely.
Why they would talk about how travel can be used as a form of education and what you can learn.
We're going road tripping. Would you like to come along with us? We've got surfboards and a 1970s combi bus, a tent.
Do you remember we even rode a camel?
Yeah, we rode multiple camels.
I didn't ride the camel.
The whole trail.
You rode the camel.
Yeah.
Gas cooker, some chow, and a sturdy roof rack.
Yeah, so we went to the Kango Caves.
Yeah, we saw the caves. We were right into the caves.
It looks like David Jones.
We climbed up to Cape Point.
Yes.
That was fascinating.
That's like the most southern tip of Africa.
Yeah.
So
We're going up the coast, yeah. Stopping all along the way.
the landscapes were so colourful and diverse, but also the cultures were so colourful.
The people, it like reflected the land.
It did, reflected the land, yes.
That's definitely a big part of any area is like the cultural weight that it holds.
Yes.
And this brought us to our next topic, which falls into home education, which is cultural identity.
What's your name, sweetie pie?
Hannah Grace.
Hannah Grace.
And Afrikaans? Are you learning Japanese?
We're learning how to read Japanese, and we can speak Afrikaans and English.
You can introduce yourself.
Tashino Namaewa, Arubatin Hannah Grace desu, Watashi 9 歳です.
Wow, that's awesome!
So I'm Japanese, so I'm also able to teach Japanese language and culture. Our children get all the education that is regarding to their heritage.
The importance of communities and families passing their beliefs and their culture and their traditions onto their children. For many home educators, this is an essential part of life, having the freedom to pass their beliefs and traditions onto their children.
Okay, so basically you're going to tell me what your reason is for it.
Okay. Can I just talk?
Yes, of course.
So within the Muslim community, Cape Town has a long tradition of memorizing the Quran. It is seen as an honor to have at least one member in your family to memorize it. So it's in Arabic. Basically, the child has to memorize 30 chapters of this book. Asia being our firstborn, we opted to have her memorize when we felt that schooling wasn't suited for her at that time.
When I was small, I used to listen to the Quran all the time. Sometimes when I used to be like just playing, then I just like start reciting. So my mommy decided, why doesn't she just do Quran? And then I've been doing it and I love doing it.
It's a proud tradition and it's something that we feel we want to be able to control and not be told how we can do it or how long we can do it. Because if they're trying to control what we learn, it's going to take away our rights. The freedom to choose what we want to do and how we want to is of utmost importance to our family. And maintaining the culture and the other religious aspects that come with our beliefs.
Well, I think our personal greatest benefit has been the fact that we can be in the Bible every day together. We have specifically 10 o'clock when everyone can't wait anymore to have tea after our first 2 hours of school, then we sit and we do Bible. And so that's something that I'm like more passionate about even than like teaching kids is mentoring new believers, and I want to be able to carry across the truths that have changed my life.
Okay guys, so what's your name? What's your name, boy? Vunetsani. Vunetsani.
Yeah.
How old are you?
8, 9.
9.
Vunetsani, Loto, and Embo.
Why are you even thinking about homeschooling, and what are your reasons?
No, start.
Okay, you start.
Oh, is it ladies first? Other than the usual complaints, you know, we all have issues with the Department of Education, the system. For us, as a black family, as an African family, as a Rastafari family, the school curriculum does not educate, because when you educate the child, you educate them holistic. Their culture, their identity, their way of life should come into consideration.
We are African people, so culturally we need to instill
You don't have time to do that at school. So when you are homeschooling, you have a lot of time to instill culture, sense of identity, sense of self, sense of pride. To us, it's very important.
Raising your children, teaching them to grow with their culture, to know who they are, to have pride in their identity, and to go out there and you can be anything, you can achieve anything as long as you know who you are.
Home education wasn't always so easy. It's become a more integrated part of society now, but it was a real struggle. And if we look at some of the pioneers of home education in South Africa, like one of the families was the Van Oorstroms, they were home educating before it was even legal.
What I was interested in was that when you were homeschooled before it was even legal, and that's what I want to hear about. What year was that when you started?
So I think it was 1994. I was in grade 1, so that was the year that I was supposed to go to school. So the first year that I was supposed to be in school, it was still illegal because it was only legalized in 1995. We pretty much traveled the country. Yeah. And
telling people about
yes, and my parents would. I think Ida was a baby at that point. She had just been born, and yes, and I can remember just we would travel the country, driving from house to house, and my parents would give seminars on homeschooling, and it would be very, very small groups. We drove down to Cape Town, and my dad with a couple of the old homeschoolers had to do a presentation in Parliament to try and convince them to actually legalize home education. And we had summoned up all the troops and got all the homeschoolers there. And there were about 100 or homeschoolers
in the whole of South Africa.
Well, all the ones that went down to Cape Town, we were all in the gallery in Parliament.
But before, so then it was illegal. What did happen to you then? What would happen to you?
Well, you could, if you refused to put your children back into school, you could be put into jail, like the Menkes people.
The Menkes family actually went to jail because they were homeschooling.
Was that in the same time?
It was in 1992,
1993, yes.
It's so weird to put someone in jail for keeping their kids at home. It's so weird.
And they just simply refused to put their children into school because they said it was not good for their children.
And where did the kids go?
They went to an orphanage.
An orphanage.
It's so
and sent to school, but they refused. They went on strike, so they refused to work and just sat at their tables like this.
How old were those kids?
I think they were like
primary school,
like late primary school, early high school, like 12.
They were very brave to do that. It must have been hard for them. Just to sit and they just refuse to work.
Typical homeschool.
They tried to force them.
So stubborn.
By beating them, actually.
They beat them?
Yeah. What? Because they didn't do any work, so the school was like,
in those days then you had corporal punishment.
But they still refused. They were like,
well, they just had their parents taken away from them, and why would they try?
Our parents are in jail. You can't do anything.
So now, but you knew that might happen. You must have felt so strongly about homeschooling.
Well, there was just no turning, looking back at all. From the day that our first baby was born, then it just click. he was a dad, and he has to protect these chicks, you know.
Oh, that's so cute.
And then I want to go into when you started, what the climate was like in South Africa with regards to homeschooling compared to now. You can just start with.
We started roughly 22 years ago, I think, we started homeschooling. The kind of questions that you were asked when we started. So people actually looked at us in a weird way and thinking, you know, almost like they want to push you away because you're weird, it's not understood. That's the kind of things we faced quite harshly in those days compared to now, even coming from our own families.
Okay, and then that now compared to then?
Oh, now we've got about 80 to 100 families in our Overberg area, and we have regular get-togethers and picnics and outings. And of course there's Facebook groups with thousands of members, so any question that you have you can ask and you'll get a multiplicity of answers. In the last few years there's been a lot more interest in homeschooling from the mainstream media, and because the homeschooling community's grown so much, people are starting to realize it's not just weirdos that do homeschooling, it's just normal people who are looking for a different kind of education than the school system offers.
There are a lot of people who home educate. They're quite hardcore. They're strong-willed and they're determined and they're very passionate. And we all know that people's children are the most important things to them in their lives, and they will do anything. So it's like, so how do you foresee with a lot of people who home educate? And even now, I'm the liaison in PE. Every week, people are calling because they're taking their kids out and coming, and it's just growing so fast. I can't even keep up.
Yeah.
So. How do you foresee the reaction and the playing out sort of the future? Like how do you...
I think the homeschoolers would like to work together with the education department.
Okay.
We would like to work together with them.
Yeah.
But if they are going to try to force us to do something that is not in the best interest of our children, we will never stop fighting. I think it's not going to happen. There are too many people that are too passionate about this. We know it's the best thing for our children. It's just you have a moral responsibility, not just for your children, but for their children, for your great-grandchildren who's going to be living in this country. You have to leave something good for them.
We're not fighting because we hate what the education department, we hate the education department of the government. We are fighting because we love our families.
Yes. I like that.
And that is very strong emotions. I don't think it's ever going to be an easy fight for the education department if they want to force us to do something which is not in the best interest of our children.
It's taking away like the most important freedom that you have.
They're absolutely right. We will never, ever stop fighting for the freedom to be able to choose what is in the best interest of our children.
It's our right as parents to do that which is best for them. It's our role as parents to educate them, to teach them, to nurture them. Not just for their sake, but the sake of the future generations as well. We believe that and we'll fight for that. Home education is growing everywhere in the world and it will keep on growing.
Yes. Leave out the boundaries really. Where it starts down.
When we started out on the journey, we had this idea that in order to explain all the different facets of home education, we would have to try and categorize families. But as we interviewed more and more people, we realized that that wasn't the point. The point of this journey wasn't to try and box people. It was to try and show how the people outside of the box experience life. At its base level, at its fundamental core, there is no box. That is the true beauty of home education.